Hi, it's Monday, and I hope you had a really great spiritual weekend with your family. Those of you that could get together, I know this time of year, this time of coronavirus, we can't be with all of our families, but I still feel blessed, and I hope you feel blessed. I hope you had a really wonderful spiritual weekend, however you celebrated it, perhaps Passover, perhaps Easter, however you celebrated it. But I want to tell you, I feel blessed. I feel blessed to be here, and I feel blessed to be your teacher. I wish that we could be together, but we just can't right now. But I still feel very blessed to be your teacher, and I hope you feel blessed. And if you need any help with anything, please don't hesitate to call me. I'll try my best to do whatever I could to help you, okay? Alrighty, let's get started. We are going to continue learning how to solve quadratic equations. The ones you have worked on already were already equal to 0. So the first type that we're going to be looking at are solving equations that require rewriting. So I have two of these that I'd like to share with you. All right, x squared minus 8x equals 20. All right, it's not supposed to look like that. Proper form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. To be in proper form, it needs to look like that. So what do we need to do to this equation to make it look like that format? Well, we got to make it equal 0, okay? So we need to subtract 20 from both sides. Since 20 is positive, I'm subtracting it, so that's gone. So x squared minus 8x minus 20 equals 0. All right, now you're right back to where you were yesterday, actually last week. You can solve it by factoring, and make sure you remember to show all your steps. Just don't give me two answers. You have to show me how you got the answers, okay? I don't want you to be working on photo math or in some kind of app. I want you to actually learn the material. You're going to need it for the rest of the year. Alrighty, so I chose negative 10 and 2 because I got to multiply to be negative 20. And I needed to add to be negative 8x. My inners would be negative 10x. My outers would be positive 2x. Sure enough, what would that equal? Negative 8x. So that's going to be the pattern. It's just like what we did yesterday, last week. All right, so then you have to use the zero product property rule and set each factor to 0. And then just solve each of these very simple equations. Subtract 2, gone. X equals negative 2. And remember, when you write your answers, you put it in set notation and you write the answers in order. These are the solutions. This is actually called a solution set. So that's the actual answer, okay? Let's try one more of those. Number 2, x squared plus 4x minus 12 equals negative 8 plus x. That's a negative right there, okay? Alrighty, this time, remember we want it to look like standard form, so it's got to equal 0. So we're going to have to get rid of that, move it to the other side. So I'm going to add 8 to take away the negative 8, and I'm going to subtract x to take away that x. And if I do it to the left side, got to do it to the right side. So subtract 8, subtract x. All right, so we've got it to equal 0. Now let's see what it actually turns out to be. So that would be x squared. 4x minus x would be 3x. Negative 20 and a negative 8 would be a negative 20. Okay? Negative 12 and negative 8, yeah, be a negative 20. Okay, just checking. Trying to think how we can, oh, you know what I did? I said, this is not making sense to me. I just realized what I did. That was a negative 8, so I had to add 8, and I put negative here, so I said, this is not coming out right. A negative 12 plus 8 is a negative 4. So you can see we all make mistakes, all right? But you just got to check it. When you see something's not working out right, you got to go back and relook at your steps and see, hey, I must have done something wrong, just like I did, okay? Now we're ready to factor. Good old backwards FOIL. What first term times what first term is x squared? What last term times last term is negative 4, but it's got to add up your inners and outers to 3x. So negative 4, 2 times 2, or 4 times 1. So hopefully you would realize it would have to be 4 times negative 1, so that when you did your outers and inners, 4x minus x would be 3x. So that's just exactly what we need. I know for sure that I factored it correctly because my outers and inners add up to the middle term. And then you'll set each factor to 0 and then solve both of those little equations. So subtract 4, you're solving for x. You want the x by itself. And then add 1. So x equals 1. So there are my two answers, negative 4 and 1. And remember, if you're taking a quiz or a test and you want to make sure that you got it right, then you can plug in the two numbers back into the original problem and it will work out to be a true statement, okay? All right, so this is just changing the problems, rewriting them to get them in standard form. All right, the next type of problem is solving cubic and quartic equations. All right, number 1. 3x cubed plus x to the second equals 4x. All right, so you can see right now, hey, that's not equaling 0. I gotta make it look like this. It's gotta equal 0. So the first thing I'm gonna have to do is make sure it's in the proper form. So 3x cubed plus x squared minus 4x equals 0. Okay, so now it's in the proper form. You know, when we were first starting polynomials, we talked about how to write a polynomial in proper form. You have to write it in descending order by way of the exponent. So that's why I put it in this order. Highest exponent, one lower, one lower. I'm descending in the powers. And this is a cubic, it's a power of 3, so we would say that is the third degree. And we should know that if it's a third degree, there are 3 answers. We talked about that when we were just starting polynomials. So we'll take out the x. Always do GCF first. Always, always, always. So divide by x, divide by x, divide by x. We have factored it out. We took that x away from everybody, from all the terms. And that's my greatest common factor. Now I have to factor this. All right, what first term times what first term is 3x squared? No choice. 3x and 1x. I can just put x, or I can put 1x, whatever you're most comfortable with. Now, 4. Okay, I got to end up with inners and outers adding up to positive. What number would be right there in front of x? 1. Positive 1x. So think about your 4. I could use 2 times negative 2, or put it in the other order. Or I could do 1 times negative 4, or negative 1 times 4. Those are my only options. So basically when you have a number in front, it's, it's a little bit harder. You just basically guess and check until you get the right middle term. So let's try it. Let's just try the first one. Plus 1 minus 4. All right, so inners would be 1x. Outers would be negative 12x. Does that add up to 1x? No, not even a little bit. So that did not work. All right, how about we switch them? How about we put the 4 here and the 1 here? Always try them in both spots to see if that would work. All right, inners would be 4x. Outers would be negative 3x. We got it! 4x plus a negative 3x is 1x. Yay! Believe me, it's time for celebrating. When you backwards FOIL it and you get the right middle term, it's like, yes. All right. we've got, okay, so now we've got to set each factor to 0. That's the greatest common factor. It has a special name. And then the two binomials. So it's third degree. We get 3 answers, and you can see, sure enough, we do. So x equals 0. There's one of the answers. We can subtract 4 from both sides. You're just solving these little 2-step equations or 1-step equations. So 3x equals -4. Divide both sides by 3. So there's another answer. And then add 1 to both sides. All right, so our 3 answers are -4/3, 0, and 1. Remember to put it in solution set form and put your answers in order. They need to be in numerical order, from the smallest to the largest. All right, last example for today. In Roman numeral number 4, solving quartic and cubic. X to the 4th minus 81 equals 0. So this is actually the difference of squares. A minus b, a plus b. But this time, instead of x times x, it's actually x to the 4th. So that would be x to the 2nd times x to the 2nd. Remember when you're multiplying, you add, if the bases are the same, you add the exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4. So x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. And then what times what is -81. So -9, +9. And sure enough, there's no middle term. Your inners would be -9x, your outers would be +9x squared, and they would cancel each other out. It's called the difference of squares pattern. Now this one, you can actually factor again. X minus 3, x plus 3. Once again, that is the difference of squares pattern. And then can that factor? No, that can't factor. Now you remember we did a whole unit on complex numbers. The actual answer here are complex numbers. So we are not actually solving the complex numbers. So there are 2 complex numbers, so there are going to be 4 answers, but we're only going to have 2 of them, because that cannot factor. Okay, so x minus 3 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, and x squared plus 9 equals 0. But like I said, these are complex numbers, -9. So you actually get 2 answers there, plus or minus 3i. Remember the i's? But our problems are solving over real numbers. So the only 2 answers we're going to get, even though there are technically 4 answers, is x equals 3 and x equals -3. So -3 and +3. Okay? But I wanted you to see this type of problem so you know what to do with it. Technically that would be plus or minus 3i, but we're not using that. Well, that's my phone. Perfect timing. We are finished with the lesson. So I'll let you work on your assignment. I'll go answer the phone. Bye.